don't have to do this anymore. Papa told me after so many years of service, you gave Overwatch everything, and then they pushed you out. Why would you go back to them? What are you still fighting?
Hi, it's me, Maven, and I have been rewriting the script several times because I have a lot to say. But let's get one thing out of the way. Like most opinion pieces on Overwatch, I'll put down my credentials. I have 1,500 hours on this game. I made a lot of fan art before I even played the game. In terms of rank, I was bronze and silver in Overwatch 1, but I don't want that to discredit my thoughts. I played this game for fun, I never tried to be a pro or anything, and I never liked the culture of only people in Masters and Top 500 can voice an opinion on this game. This is from a casual perspective. I never watched Overwatch League or anything. That didn't matter to me. The characters did. And I want my voice to be heard because I loved this game so much. Let's get started. First, we'll talk about my story with Overwatch and how that game impacted me. I'll try to keep everything as condensed as possible. So the year is 2016. The only game that I had purchased that year was Life is Strange, even though I watched so many people play it already. I only ever knew video games as cutscenes and cinematics. I didn't understand what the first-person shooter was, but I was really drawn to the Overwatch cinematics. Dragons was incredible to watch, and same with the Soldier 76 cinematic. That was really cool to see. However, my best friend at the time of 7 years suddenly passed away. We had talked about Overwatch. I didn't understand what it was, but we were really interested in the characters and stuff like that. So even though I didn't know anything about the gameplay or anything like that, there were memes everywhere. I knew what High Noon was. I knew what Justice Reigns from Above was. I knew about the play of the games through memes. Yeah, I dealt with a lot of life-altering events that year, and pop culture in 2016 was weird. We had Pokemon Go.
We get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Vine died, so we had Harambe. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm getting off track. But that was a weird year. But Overwatch was part of that culture, so I knew what the voice actors were. It was everywhere. There was fan art. There were comics. It was still there. It was very engaging. Anyway, cut to 2017. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of everything. I had no friends. I was an extremely lonely person, and so I had made a friend, and he introduced to me Team Fortress 2, which was really great. It was my first-person shooter, and I I had to learn how to use a mouse instead of a mouse pad, and learning how to use WASD. That was fun. Then 2018 happened, and very early that year, that friend ghosted me. So after that friend ghosted me, I was at rock bottom again, and I was at my absolute lowest. And in a desperate attempt at connection, I made a decision that would change my life forever, and that was joining an Overwatch roleplay server. So I joined an Overwatch roleplay server. I did a lot of art, and I wrote for Diva, and eventually I got a laptop that could barely play Overwatch, but boy did I play some Overwatch. I was a Diva main, and I remember when the cinematic came out, I was sitting on my bed that morning just super excited. Then as I played, through a friend of a friend in a group during a game, I met this mysterious Genji main. I'll call him Quincy. And he joined our group, and he was so cool. He always got play of the game and was a really skilled gamer. And one day, while I was just in a private lobby shooting at Ana bots as Widowmaker because I wanted to play her a lot, he joined and he offered to help. And so we made Widowmaker Academy, and we would do all kinds of timing of how long it would take me to shoot things. This was before there were Overwatch workshops, so we kind of had to do stuff by ourselves. But soon, our Widowmaker Academy sessions just started turning into just hanging out sessions on private lobbies on random maps, and we would just talk for hours. Then he started introducing me to other video games like A Hat in Time and Borderlands 2, but that is a whole different story. But long story short, we realized we liked each other, and years later, we're now married. I still have a lot of really good friends from those days that I'm still good friends with. And even when I moved in with him, the roommates that we had, I also met through Overwatch. And the thing about Overwatch that was so great was that there was kind of a character for everybody to identify with in some shape or form. And that, to me, was the beauty of Overwatch.
I'm so scared. Far out.
However, I seem to have joined Overwatch during the last year of Overwatch being perceived as decent. I think the last good content we've received was the Ash and the Reunion cinematic. Because when 2019 came around, we didn't know, but certain things we found as odd turned out to be the cracks forming. For me, I think it started with the Storm Rising event. You see, just before I played Overwatch, I knew very well about the Retribution event. It was huge. You had memorable banter. I still quote to this day.
No problem. We're used to waiting around and getting shot at.
You had cool looks like Genji's Blackwatch skin. Of course, seeing the Commander Reyes skin, where you could see who Reaper used to be. That was awesome. I remember thinking, wow, I can't wait to see what the new skins we get this year. And so the Storm Rising event began, and everyone is in their default skins? Okay, how about the enemies? What kind of enemies are we fighting this time? More talent grunts. No! What's the mission? What are we doing? A really slow payload. Okay, so what's the story like? How's it gonna end?
What might you be in the market for?
An introduction.
Ah, and who is it you would like to meet?
That can change.
You have my attention.
And that was it. And it was kind of underwhelming. And the next thing, as far as we knew, is that we probably wouldn't have gotten a follow-up until like the next year. Since things came up at such a slow pace, why should we have even cared about the story? So if you liked the story of Overwatch, have fun being drip-fed lore. However, in the meantime, while you were waiting for Zen to finally get some spotlight, the game itself was dealing with another huge issue. Brigitte. Good lord. Now, I had joined right after Brigitte was new to the game, so I didn't know what the game was like without her. But she was so overpowered and unkillable. I remember playing her, and I thought I was good at her. And I think she was the beginning of the end of Overwatch being more casual. And along with that, because of Brigitte's ability, came the infamous GOATS meta, known for its composition of 3 tanks and 3 supports.
The Outlaws are going to pull out Dante's Tracer. This has been some of the things that Outlaws fans have been waiting for is a good Tracer player on Houston. It's Jake on the bar. This combo's worked well for them before, but as soon as they see the defensive setup, they will just simply swap it away. Crucial time lost here for the Outlaws.
Now, on the quick play and arcade side, it wasn't that prominent because there were no stakes, but boy, did we feel the effects through the nerfs, because instead of just straight up nerfing Brigitte, who was a problem for almost 2 years, they nerfed everything else around her to, I guess, avoid a rework or something. Shields and armor were changed, beam damage was changed, D.Va's defense matrix shrunk. And there was a time in competitive where they also tried experimenting with hero bans. There were buffs and nerfs left and right, all to adjust around this composition. And the thing that I'm sour about is that just on the casual end, this wasn't really happening. People were just playing for fun. And so because of all of this stuff happening, we got roll queue. For me, this was kind of when the game stopped being fun because you had to play your role and the games became more predictable and, you know, if you wanted to swap to someone maybe you were more familiar with and compromise with your team, it couldn't really happen. If you were a support main and a tank main like me and you wanted to try DPS to get better, you had to wait a really long queue time, and if you did terrible in that game, it felt pretty bad. So this was kind of when I stopped playing with my friends and I just soloed in arcade. Now at the time, quick play was still an option, but it was in the arcade menu. And eventually a while later, they even made a competitive open queue and then made an open queue in quick play, which I give them credit for eventually. The thing is, I feel like by this time, all the other people that were playing for fun had left to play with other things in some way or another. And honestly now, I kind of regret not playing with my friends while we were still playing Overwatch. But at the same time, things just started to feel really bad. And this is going to be a bit of a rant, and I've never heard anyone discuss this. Maybe it's just a me thing, let me know. But I want to get this particular thing off my chest. What bugs me so much about these changes is that it's to compensate for the highest ranked players. And they're the ones that have the perfect game sense, that have the perfect aim, they know how to play the game most efficiently. Not me! I have so many hours on Widow and I still miss a lot. And this is just a tangent, but there's something I just sincerely want to address. Because the only content creators that have been around for years are the high-ranking players. But the thing is that this is a natural result of being in a game where the content and the story for the characters hardly ever come out. And this is all that there's left. Which there is nothing wrong with wanting to play competitive at all. It's just that over the past few years, that's all that there's been left to do. I remember there was this video that I've watched so many times called Super Low Tier Overwatch, where these people have no idea how to play the game, and I love it. These people are having more fun than I will ever have. I just wish that when I was the most into Overwatch, there was more representation for more players like this. I like messing around and having fun, and that's what games are supposed to be, having fun. Then things got really weird. We had the famous controversy where the professional Hearthstone player Blitzchung was reprimanded by Blizzard for supporting
Falcon! That's the Falcon! They put the Falcon in the movie! This is the Castle Run!
I've seen the Castle Run! I've seen the Castle Run!
Oh my god, the Castle Run! Amazing! Holy shit, they did it! They did it!
Wow, check out this cinematic! This looks amazing! Genji has a new look and everyone's back together! This is awesome!
Does this mean Overwatch is back?
Yes. Yes, we are.
However, there's just one thing that I know that everyone was thinking. A sequel? Already? It's only been 3 years. Why are they acting like it's been 8? And we had the trailer for the Overwatch 2 skill trees, and abilities, new maps, new characters, and if you're already watching this, you already know.
A lot of you have questions, like why a sequel? Or what does that mean to me as a player of the original game? You know, sequels make us nervous more than anything else. So what we're hoping to do with Overwatch 2 is really redefine what a sequel means.
3 years. 3 years. We had a content drought for 3 years. We were patient. We were understanding, and it seemed like they were working on this for a much longer time, too. 2020 was one heck of a year. Give them a pass for that. We saw the deathmatch maps. We saw the lawsuit. We all had bad games, and we're like, okay, you know what? I can hold on until Overwatch 2. I can hang in there, because I know that they're going to deliver on what they promised. They have to. They promised. And I can't wait to play with new abilities. Or play with old abilities. I actually never was able to play with Mass Res. That could be fun. I can't wait for Zen to get lore. 3 years of patience and understanding from the player base. And faith as well. Jeff Kaplan, the game director, and Michael Chu, the story director, left within those 3 years, by the way. Let me take a little detour because I want to give you context from my perspective. Okay, so here's a little bit of a detour. In early 2022, I was having a massive problem getting out of Overwatch, so I tried to keep it uninstalled for a month, and I was sitting there trying to get my multiplayer shooter fixed, and I was sat there thinking, there has to be something else I could play, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try Apex Legends. So I played Apex Legends before I played Titanfall 2. I'm sorry, Plot Coalition, I've learned the errors of my ways. Which terrified me because I was uneasy about the Battle Royale genre. I had a great time, and I got my friends to play it as well. And I'm sure you can guess who I mained.
No way.
Exactly! Yes! I was wondering if there was going to be a Nessie here.
A Nessie.
Oh my god! I was wondering if they were going to do that. That means Watson's been here. What has she been up to?
I'm currently at the top of my game.
Anyway, gameplay between Apex and Overwatch are completely different, but I'm not here to talk about that. The one thing that I wanted to talk about was this. So I'm watching videos, catching up on Apex lore, and there was this moment that I took note. Loba had a crush on Bangalore or something, and she overheard Bangalore talk about how she and Loba were just friends, and that's all she ever saw. And Loba got heartbroken, and she went away. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then later, some story stuff was coming out for that season, you know, where people like voice act, and there's an illustration behind it. And this moment happened.
Here it is. In the hospital on Olympus, I heard you say you and I were just friends. But you were wrong. We were never just friends. And we never will be.
Wait, you were eavesdropping on me?
I was coming to see you to... Farewell, Sergeant Williams. Out of my way.
And let me tell you, my opinion on Overwatch changed from disappointment to straight up anger and frustration. But why? Why was this important? I'll tell you why. It's because they followed up on something that happened in the story earlier. They completed an arc. No big hints into something major and vague to come, no cliffhangers. They actually followed on something. Something got finished. Now, Apex certainly has its problems. I don't play it anymore because of those problems. But at least Apex can follow up on things that happened a while ago and have arcs. And also, I'm gonna be really petty, but at least Apex Legends wear their queer characters and queer relationships on their sleeves proudly between playable characters, rather than having hints on Tracer's girlfriend or other characters' identities being held outside of the game, similar to how J.K. Rowling did Dumbledore, where the queerness was not in the text, but more of an afterthought. At least in Apex, you see characters flirting with each other, or having a story where people kiss. Anyway, so imagine how I felt when the Overwatch 2 beta was announced right after I finally migrated away from Overwatch. I didn't care. I was already starting to feel really bitter at it. And then we learned that Overwatch 1 was going to be gone for good, so before the game ended, I played what was the last of it before Overwatch 2, where the format changed from 6v6 to 5v5. So, Overwatch 2 launched, and as soon as I opened the game, I felt uneasy. I remember my first game in Overwatch 2, and I saw the missing player in the roster, and my first impression was that it was lonelier. As soon as I saw the shop, it was instantly greedy and scummy, and unlike other battle passes, you couldn't even earn your currency back. So if you completed it, it meant that you had to buy the next battle pass every season, especially if you wanted to get the new heroes in the future. What an absolute stupid decision. So I didn't buy the battle pass, I just shrugged it off because I was hoping it would help with the future PvE. You know, they gotta make money somehow. And damn, if you don't care about battle passes, your rewards for the game are just nothing. Except like the little free battle pass stuff like charms and banners. Ooh, so cool. It was pretty clear instantly to me what this game had turned into, and I didn't like it. And I remember a few days after launch, I just started watching old Dabacap compilations, and I remember like crying because the game that I had loved so much just died overnight. And I was like, okay, I'll just uninstall and wait for the PvE and move on with my life.
Some special guests, it's game director Aaron Keller and executive producer Jared Noose joining me here on Dev Chat. How are you guys doing?
That you
Hello.
Hey, Matt, doing great. Thank you so much for having us today.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us on the show.
We announced Overwatch 2 in 2019. We began to pull more and more of our focus and energy away from the live game and all of the people that were playing it. Now we made a commitment to always prioritize the live game and all of the people playing it, and to devote our development efforts there.
Meantime, development on the PvE experience really hasn't made the progress that we would have hoped. And so we're left with another difficult choice. Do we continue to pour all that effort into PvE, hoping that we can land it at some point in the future? Or do we stick with this set of values we've aligned on and focus on the live game? With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore.
I remember when I heard that news. I remember the overall feeling was shock, but not surprise. The thing is that there was this consensus, considering Blizzard's recent history, that the PvE wouldn't be good, but the fact that they couldn't provide the bare fucking minimum said a lot. So now we would just get some of the campaign without any polish, just like an archives event, but you had to pay for it. No thanks. This isn't what we were promised. We went through ridiculous changes, and this is all we got? Are you serious, Blizzard? Though my favorite part about all of this was that Blizzard was kind enough to give us a consolation gift by putting Overwatch on Steam. And finally, the player base could air out their grievances.
Download the game, write a bad review, uninstall the game. No PvE? Until they bring back 6v6, do not install this game. Blizzard only cares about your wallet. It's an indie company, guys, give them a break. Remembering when the game actually used to be good feels weird. I know Overwatch 2 gets a lot of hate, but personally I don't think it gets enough.
And that's the only good decision Blizzard has ever done since the launch of Overwatch 2. It was so validating and cathartic to see everyone have an actual chance to express how they felt about the state of the game. Like, it wasn't just me. And now let me completely list out all the things we lost for the sake of a glorified shop update. The first thing that I personally thought was absolutely appalling was that the Overwatch category on Twitch disappeared, meaning that all of the clips on Twitch of players playing Overwatch 1 are gone. A lot of the game's history with so many players are completely wiped out, and it's almost as if they didn't want anyone to know how much of a downgrade we were going to be getting. 5v5 is so empty and the effects are much more flashier, and honestly I have a personal conspiracy theory that the effects are way too much to hide how empty a 10-player lobby is compared to a 12-player lobby. Hi, Editing Maven here, making this video longer to go on a huge tangent. The thing is about Overwatch, it has always been effects heavy, but not this heavy. The biggest issue, I think, the frames on the border that are supposed to highlight your conditions whenever you're being healed, impacted, or any other kind of effect. Like, I'm freezing these particular frames. How is the average player supposed to navigate this? I don't think anyone was asking, yeah, I really want to be blinded whenever I'm attacked. Good thing I have this blinding animation to help me out in this critical time, to help me make the best decision I can in a very short amount of time. Now, before you analyze the gameplay to see what I could have done to avoid this situation, that's not really the point I'm trying to make. Not only are these effects on the borders taking a large percentage of the screen, but they're also flashing, and I can't recognize my positioning choices or how I died if I can't see what's going on. And this is me playing the character that requires no aiming, is very forgiving on positioning, and has a self-heal. I can't imagine trying to play a hit scan character with this. So I'm going to be on the right side of history, and I'm going to say that 6v6 is a lot better than 5v5. Fights in 5v5 are so short. If two people die in the fight, it's almost instantly over. And I've never seen such a freaking amount of team kills now in a game before. Not to mention the spawn camping, because you don't have a second tank. I stopped playing tank because having a second tank helped me cut some slack because I'm not the best player in the world. These maps aren't made for 6v6 in mind. Like, I know assault maps have their own problems, but playing it in the current 5v5 mode in arcade, you can see the problems with the format more prominently. And honestly, maybe that's why push feels like ass. I hate push so much. Maybe it would feel better if it was in 6v6. Hi, Editing Maven here. One thing I wanted to add in the 6v6 versus 5v5 is that basically you have to play your role and you have to play the objective, because there's no room for wandering around or experimenting, and sometimes that's where the fun was. And there's only a certain way you can play this game, though this isn't new. I feel like the restriction Overwatch has been putting on their player base came from role queue, and they made 5v5 to try fix queue times, and wow, how did that turn out, Blizzard? Now you have to play your role even harder, and if you want to do anything else, you're throwing. Over the years, the player freedom has been taken away, and I think role queue in hindsight was kind of the nail in the coffin, because it was a band-aid fix for the GOATS meta, which was caused by refusing to nerf Brigitte for years, and then we got the double shield meta, and I guess 5v5 was a response to that, and look where we are now. I am so happy. Overwatch notoriously, they just make more problems by trying to fix problems they make rather than completely reverting it, because the balance team has like an ego issue. The card system and the medal system. I loved medals. Honestly, it was a great way to focus on your own performance, and you could see your objective time and kills. You could see the parts that mattered. And the same thing happened with the card system, where you were sitting on the payload or defending the point. You could get an acknowledgement for your efforts without doing crazy stuff. Not to mention that the card system was a great time to take a breather after a game, and you could also talk to the enemy teammates in match chat, and it was a great way to just cool down and discuss maybe goofy things that happened in the match. It was really nice. Another thing that I miss is the borders. Give me back my gold border. I worked for that. It was pretty. It showed someone's experience in the game. It also helped you spot smurfs. playoffs. And also what I miss is the background of the main menu being one of the maps, and it would be randomized. And you could look at skins, and you could see them how they interact with the environment, rather than just this boring training room. I'm not a big fan of the new hero select animation. Some of them are a little too flashy, especially if you're trying to choose a skin before the game starts. And I think that they are a little over animated, and I liked the simple animations. They had a certain charm to it. And knowing what we know now, it just feels like it's overcompensating, and I wish we had the option to have Overwatch 1 animation similar to the Overwatch 1 skins. Also, what is up with legendary skins looking like epic skins and epic skins looking like legendary skins? And on that note, I think with some of the recolors, you can already see some of the Microsoft layoffs. Actually, I'm probably wrong because these were probably made like a year or two prior, so give it some time. I'm sure things will definitely get better. I just like the crossover events, and unfortunately, they're the only new animations Overwatch is getting. We have like not KDA, we have Transformers, etc. And now these characters are just pimped out for skins for things that don't matter story-wise. So I know their resources aren't being put into things that matter to me in this game in the first place, and it makes me sad. Characters are now just props to put random skins to sell. But I know that they did it before in the first game with like the Halloween and summer events, but knowing that the main content is to just get in your wallet feels icky, especially after everything. Why would I give this game any more of my money when I know that they won't do anything good with it? Also, this video has been taking so long to do, but apparently there is going to be some testing for 6v6 in the future or something. I'm not holding out much hope. I could be wrong, but from the weird wording about it, I'm skeptical because they have a very bad history of reverting changes completely. And I'm worried that if they experiment, they're gonna sabotage it in some way. They'll see something wrong and they'll say it's our fault, like LFG. The thing about LFG is that they said not enough people are using it, but it's really hard to know what their standards are number-wise, because I saw people using it, I used it when it was active, so it's hard to guess what's enough for them to keep changes around or revert changes, and that's what keeps me skeptical. I have to say though, I wanted to go back on some of the competitive player versus casual player conversation. To be honest, I have heard both sides of the player base express that Overwatch has become too competitive, Overwatch has become too casual. The truth is, this game isn't made for anyone. This game is only made for content creators to advertise the cosmetics and play competitive for all eternity. And I'm sure it's an absolutely wonderful time. It's great for their mental health, and they're truly living the dream of having their livelihood determined by interest in an empty shell of a game from a company with an increasingly tanking reputation. And as the general public is losing interest, they're also probably losing money, but if they leave, it's a big risk. And also they've gained such good faith with the people of Blizzard that they can't express their true feelings, so they keep playing this game, hoping that one day things will get better, but knowing this game's history, that'll probably never happen. This game has lost its vision, if it even had one in the first place. Their only incentive now is to just make skins for the price of a better game. And to be honest, it feels bad because this game has great stuff. Like, we have anticipated Junker Queen, Malga, and Ramatra for years, but like with the state of this game, with not just its monetization, but its ridiculous balancing, it's not worth reinstalling. And you know, whenever I see videos about the downfall of Overwatch, I've seen the quote-unquote IP being spoken about just briefly, and I feel like the IP isn't talked about enough because that's the important thing to me. It's how I got attached. They have really good stuff, and I want to give it some spotlight to emphasize what could have been what we lost. We have characters like Winston and Reinhardt that are the equivalent of a warm hug whenever you hear their voices. And you have Anna, who's like this badass older woman, and we don't get very many playable older women very often. The potential of Sigma being this Lovecraftian horror protagonist, they've done nothing with that. Like, we have this well-meaning scientist who's being taken advantage of by a shady organization, but can you imagine the potential if they lost control of him? Reaper can be seen as just an edgelord, but imagine if we could have actually seen the transition from Gabriel Reyes to Reaper. Another concept I love is May, who isn't a fighter at all, she's just a scientist. However, she does her best and uses her ingenuity and knowledge to be crafty to help, which is also reflected in May's gameplay, and also it's really sweet to see her paired up with Winston in the 0 Hour cinematic, who's also in the same boat as her. And at the end of the cinematic, they help defeat the evil Omnic with their problem-solving skills. And the art is just amazing. The Overwatch maps, the skins. My favorite maps are the Halloween themed maps. Like, Halloween has always been exciting year-round because you get the best stuff. Also, we were blessed with the artist Neskane, who did fantastic work on the hero origin stories and sprays. I think he had recently left Blizzard, but his work is immaculate, and honestly, he's my favorite artist of all time. And whenever the characters have been added post Overwatch 2, they don't feel like they belong. Like Kiriko and her weird age compared to Hanzo and Genji, if they were like childhood friends, but she's younger than them. And where's the consistency between where magic starts and tech ends? It's like Ilari has been chosen by the sun powers? Or Lifeweaver using science and life to heal people. What does that even mean? Oh man, I should have healed everybody using life. Why didn't I think of that? The characters that haven't been established previously, like Malga, Junker, Karina, and Ermatra, they already don't feel like they belong. As of recording this, there's a new character that's from Mars and is May's niece? But I find it kind of telling that I don't think they care about the story at all with how far this scope is going. And I know we have space travel to the moon, but this lore that expands is just turning into a shallow ocean. I know at this point in the game's history, the story has hardly been touched on, and I don't think that they ever will. And I feel a little stupid for ever investing in the potential this game had. And it becomes apparent the formula of these stories. The world is changing. We need to help because more bad stuff is happening. Now we're all here and these are just empty campaigns, and it's clear that all of this was for nothing. I keep trying to think about where all of these lies and false promises came from, and I feel like it's always been this way. I feel like we've been tricked into believing that there was going to be more in the future, and look where we are now. I've seen many games make this mistake in believing that they're the only game in the world and that they can afford to coast off its success without putting in any more work. And if any of the player base asks for more or asks for changes that aren't working out, they ignore it and act like the player base doesn't actually know what they want. Anyway, just wait around for this really new thing that's definitely happening. It's gonna be really great. Just stick around a little longer. I feel like I've been duped and punished for once loving this game. The scope of this game is so unfocused and they can't deliver on any of it. And the best way I can describe what Overwatch has been doing for years has been this vine. And sadly, the only thing this game has been doing reliably for years are just microtransactions for skins. And I fear that's all it's ever gonna be. What's so funny is that the characters reflect the sentiments I'm feeling. Soldier 76, at first I thought it was funny about how broody he was, but to be honest, I think he was onto something.
You're one of those heroes, aren't you?
Not anymore. A lot of memories of this place. They weren't all bad. Bring back Overwatch. What's the point?
And I think we were all Winston wanting to dream of a better vision to bring back Overwatch back to its old potential and more. The cinematics have always had some inspirational moral going on. Don't do things on your own, dare to do the right thing, and the famous
always remember, never accept the world as it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be.
The fact that this game reflects none of these sentiments, it tries to represent itself as the people of Overwatch should be embarrassed. It's no wonder why so many people left. What happened to Overwatch shouldn't be acceptable.
You already know this. Look, the people decided they were better off without us. They tore our family apart.
The more I see Winston's fight to make things better and the sad reality of Overwatch, my heart breaks for him knowing the truth of all of this. I mourn this game. When Quincy and I talk about Overwatch, we always bring up this image. This topic is so taxing to talk about, let alone make a video about, and I feel like there's still so much more I want to say. Overwatch had something great. It won Game of the Year. It had pop culture, cosplayers, artists by the balls. The voice actors were stars. People were making art and animations.
I'm going to own all these noobs.
Now there's practically nothing about it. All that everyone ever talks about is how dead this game is. Overwatch entered pop culture triumphantly, and now it's just like every other live service game, which can be good, but Deep Rock Galactic and Helldivers are the exception and not the rule. However, this game was made for shareholders and not actual players. I don't know if Overwatch is ever going to get better. With this history, I doubt it, and it's going to take a lot more than testing out 6v6 to bring me back. I'm tired of hanging on for this game that will never deliver, a game that takes away features and returns them in a worse state. Overwatch isn't the only game in the world, and I'm just gonna move on. And one of the most heartbreaking things about how our good faith for Overwatch has been tainted was that last year my husband and I went to visit his old home, and we needed to clear some things out. And a great friend of ours gifted him a Genji statue. It was beautiful. We had a whole bunch of Genji merch too. We had a sword and a jacket, and actually I still use a Diva wallet that I got in 2018. And as we were cleaning out, we knew that all this Overwatch stuff was gonna sit there collecting dust, and we didn't want to bring it back with us. So we gave it away to his cousin, who appreciated it. But honestly, what makes me so sad is just the fact that we let go of all of that so easily without any bit of remorse breaks my heart. This is how badly Overwatch has fucked up. That it's like a breakup, honestly, where all the good things that had good memories with it, we see it and it's like, I don't want to look at this anymore. And you know what? There is nothing like Overwatch. Even with Marvel Rivals going on, I'm sorry, but there's nothing like being Mercy or Diva. They may combine abilities all they want, but I want to play the Overwatch characters. What was great about Overwatch was that there was someone for everybody, and you didn't need to compromise for a group game instead of like, oh, are we playing a survival shooter, or are we playing Minecraft or something? Did you like Metal Gear Rising? Genji might be a great pick for you. Did you like Evangelion and Gundams? Diva's perfect for that. Every one of my friends had that one character that they identified with, and it was always great to see that character with their favorite skin of choice, and whenever you saw that skin, it's like, hey, that's my friend. I mourn this game. I'm not happy talking about how dead this game is. Sure, it's fun and cathartic to make fun of it, but at the end of the day, I'm just heartbroken. I don't want more from Overwatch anymore. It's gone, and we're never getting it back. It's been a year since that announcement of PvE, and I think a lot of us are now in just like this hangover phase. No more memeing on it or goofing on it. This is just sad. I've been sad about this game for a long time, and every once in a while there's always a reminder of what we lost. For instance, what made me start making this video in the first place was learning that one of the Overwatch compilation channels, Rapida, stopped uploading a few months prior to me even starting this video, and the fact that I didn't even notice saddened me. And it was just another reminder of the Overwatch-shaped hole that's in my chest, and it's never gonna be filled. And to be honest, it just seems like there's just this general collapse of live service, and I think Overwatch tried jumping on the trend of the free-to-play service games in the last stages of its lifetime. I know that we've passed loot boxes now and battle passes, and honestly, I'm afraid of what's gonna happen next, because the logical option to make games good and to complete them is too hard of a task for these billion-dollar companies to do. And I'm gonna be forever furious at Blizzard for doing what they did. It's absolutely unacceptable about how they kept leading on their player base for years and abusing their faith. I want to hope for the best, but they're gonna have to do a lot more than bringing back 6v6 for me to forgive them. Overwatch genuinely changed my life. Quincy and I have this Gremlin Diva plush that we got from Etsy, and she's turned from Gremlin Diva to our own character who shares the same name as Hana. We've given her a whole new world and universe, and it's become our own. So a little bit of Overwatch still lives in us. And I will forever be grateful for meeting my husband and the most wonderful group of friends I've ever met through this game. However, it's time for me to move on. This world that they've made will forever be in my heart, and I just want all of these characters with so much potential to move on to something better.
If you're hearing this message, I guess that's it. All I ever wanted was to create a brighter future. But history always has a way of repeating itself. I have put everything that I believe in, everything that I hoped for, into this, my last creation. In the dark days to come, the world will need her. And perhaps, as long as she is there, I won't truly be gone.